how well have we articulated the business problem that we're trying to solve? What is the other aspect around operationalization,
Right.
human change management,
Exactly.
the org design, all of those things? Are we giving enough thought to that as we're racing towards the solution? These are foundational elements that have existed in enterprise architecture
For years. Agreed with that.
Is there now focus on this now that that didn't exist in the past? How do you prevent the sprawl but still not limit the business flexibility and value you're trying to bring? What are you concerned about as you're kind of looking at the future and something that that you've got your mind on that you've got to make sure that you manage well?
Welcome to 5 Minutes, your fast track to smarter insurance technology and stronger leadership. In the next 5 minutes, we're going to show you a better way to lead, scale, and innovate without the chaos. Let's get into it.
Sid, thank you so much for taking the time. We're here at InsurTech Americas 2026. It's an amazing show, conference going on. What's your number one takeaway so far, half a day in?
I really loved the panel session that said productionize agentic AI in production, right?
Okay, yep.
That is something that really resonated to me. And a lot of the theme over here is not just implementing AI in general, but the theme here is once you implement AI, how to govern it properly, how to manage it properly, and how to tie it with an actual business use case. So that has been the overall theme. Like you just don't integrate AI into your products directly.
Right.
You build the foundational infrastructure to support AI. And that is what I like about all the AI presentations and panel sessions that have happened in the conference.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting things that I want to kind of just peel back on that comment there, Sid, because, first off, so much of, I guess, a lot of the noise that we hear in our industry are just these AI solutions looking for a problem.
Right.
How well have we articulated the business problem that we're trying to solve? By the way, the solve may not be AI, it's like something else, right? So there's that one aspect of it. But then also too, what is the other aspect around operationalization, human change management, the org design, all of those things? Are we giving enough thought to that as we're racing toward the solution?
So my thought on this is slightly different, Miguel. What I feel about it is AI is not going to scale if you directly integrate it with your products, right? From an enterprise architecture angle, you need to start building the foundations first. What are the foundations? You need to have a good API-led architecture.
Right.
You need to build event-driven solutions for your data pipeline.
Yep.
And then on the security side, you need to have robust security mechanisms, good governance, good auditability, and good security measures overall within your architecture. Like as long as you can get those foundations in place, AI will fit naturally into it, right?
Yep. Now here's something that's kind of interesting. I feel like those are absolutely the right foundational elements to think about.
Right.
They're not new.
Right.
These are foundational elements that have existed in enterprise architecture
for years. Agreed with that.
Is there now focus on this now that didn't exist in the past?
No, there is a new way to think about it, right? Now I'm going to break it down into kind of 5 pillars, right? From an enterprise architecture angle. The first pillar is data, right? Now, how do you build your data? Is your data good enough? Is your data trusted enough? Is your data clean? Right? You need to think about how do you provide clean data that fits your system, right? The second pillar is the trust, right? How trustworthy is your data?
Mm-hmm.
You need to have some kind of confidence on the data that you're sending to a system, right?
Sure.
And you need to have some confidence threshold.
Right.
From an AI or agentic AI perspective, it matters the most because if your data is trustworthy, you can let the automation run by itself.
Of course.
But if your data is not trustworthy, if it misses the trust confidence threshold, you need to have human in the loop, right? So the number 2 pillar is trust, right? Number 3 is the API-led architecture that I talked about, right? It's there since ages. Like we've been building APIs since last 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
But what we need to focus on is reusability. How do you build these building blocks together and how you can plug them together so that you can innovate faster?
Right.
The next pillar that, one should focus upon, again, very foundational, but pretty critical for AI is orchestration, right? how do you build those set of rules that allow these APIs to talk to each other?
Sure.
In the agentic AI world, agents will look at those rules if you have strict rules in place and be able to produce better deterministic results if you have robust set of rules in your orchestration workflow. Right. The final pillar is governance, right?
Yep.
What output you're getting from your AI solutions, right? And who in terms of data, who owns the data, right? What is the data lineage, right? And then in terms of security, in terms of how the AI is producing data, you need to have good set of governance in terms of data ownership, as well as in terms of API strategy as well, right? You need to have proper API security strategy, security rules, documentations around API. All of these guardrails will allow AI to be integrated seamlessly within your ecosystem without causing much of in the AI world, hallucination, and will give you very close deterministic results. So that is what we have been trying to achieve within our organization, is to build these pillars so that we can integrate AI seamlessly within our ecosystem.
So it sounds like to me, Sid, that to some extent, AI has been a kind of a tipping point that has gotten organizations, perhaps your organization, interested in making the kind of investments in those foundational pillars, those 5 pillars that you just laid out. Talk to me a little about the journey that your firm and your approach to engaging the business in that conversation, because you got to do it with them, right? And you can't do it kind of just off on the side.
Yeah. So let me give you a background about CopperPoint. We started as a single line of business company 100 years ago, but we actually started our journey of transformation back in 2023. And the transformation that we did was, moving our products to the Guidewire platform. Then back in 2023, we moved to cloud. But the transformation that we were doing were big bang transformations. These transformation programs lasted for 1 years, 2 years, and sometimes even 3 years, right? So having such big transformation programs, has a lot of challenges in the current ecosystem, right? When the AI and the innovation is happening rapidly, if you have such massive transformation projects, it's gonna kind of slow you down, and it can also lead to failures as well, right? Because and your requirements can go stale after 2 years. You never know that, right? So things have changed over time, and now we're not focusing on large transformation. Now what we want to, communicate to our business is to make incremental improvements. An example of that, what I would like to give is, like we have a 20-year-old house, which is an analogy of our platform, which has been there since last 10 years. You don't just replace the whole platform and build new solutions that can work with AI. What you do is you build stuff incrementally. Take small things at a time within your house and re-innovate them. And suddenly, after a few years, you have like a new house, new experience, a very modern experience.
Absolutely.
So that is the value that we want to communicate to our business folks. That incremental changes, rather than having big, from an enterprise architecture angle, rather than having big capex projects, have some incremental projects that can bring massive value. And we need to ask business users, what is your bottleneck? Give me a bottleneck, list down all those bottlenecks, target them first, right? Rather than solving for replacing the entire system. Right? So that has been our strategy, right? And to the CFOs, in terms of pricing, we want to be very transparent upon what services we are using in cloud, right? As we have migrated to cloud, right?
So runaway costs.
The way we are doing that is we have listed down all the services that we are using within the cloud infrastructure, the partners that we are working with, and the way we are communicating it to our CFO and executive leadership is what is the value we are getting per product, per partner, per service within the cloud ecosystem, right? And that is how you're going to get a business buy-in to kind of make incremental changes rather than making big bang changes.
I love that. Same with the house analogy, though, Sid. How do you protect against a very excited partner in the business that is looking to just bring too many things in at once, and you're trying to maintain some sense of architecture around that, because I see a number of my clients and some others that have very, very well-intentioned, innovative people in the business.
Right.
The floor here is littered with democratized technology that can be implemented instantly. Right. How do you prevent the sprawl but still not limit the business flexibility and value you're trying to bring?
I think the key here is to work with partners who have a good API-led architecture strategy.
Okay.
Right? If they have a good API-led architecture strategy, it's easier for us to build APIs and plug and play. Right?
Yeah.
And if we see and monitor it, and if it goes well, we stick with it. And if it does not go well, it's easy to kind of remove the plug. Right.
Yep.
So our main focus is whether you have a good API-led architecture that you can integrate with us, right?
Yep.
The second step is, with collaborating with partners is what we want to focus on is whether you have good compliance measures, right?
Yes.
You don't really need to be SOC 2 or ISO from day one. You are a startup. We understand that as a carrier, right?
Sure.
But at least are you thinking in terms of design, whether you are compliant, right? Whether you're taking all the security steps, whether your credentials are secure, the data that we are sending you, the PII data, are you storing it, and what is your storage criteria? What is your archival criteria?
Yep.
All of the questions are something that we ask the partners that we integrate with.
Yep.
And as long as they adhere to that and they have like good API strategy, I think it's easy to integrate with them, and it definitely helps us in the long term.
That's
both
awesome.
of us in the long term.
That's awesome. So let me ask one last quick question here. What is on your mind in terms of a watch point? What are you concerned about as you're kind of looking at the future, and something that that you've got your mind on that you've got to make sure that you manage well? Give me an idea of something like that in your world.
I think in my enterprise architecture world, the hardest part is the data, right?
Yeah.
Data is the biggest challenge. So you've also shared multiple times in your podcast that we've built warehouses, right? We've built lake houses. We've built data lakes with all these files, right? What do we want to do with this data, right?
That's right.
Now, the question to ask is, how do we build relationships with the data? Mm-hmm. How is the claim tied to the policy coverage and to the billing and to documents, right?
Yes.
So the next goal is, a lot of insurance carriers are moving to cloud right now. They've built their lake house. They've built their lake house architecture, good data strategy. But then you have to start thinking about what the data means to you, right?
Yeah.
And you need to kind of, build based on those meaningful relationships. So now in the current world, we are considering, building more context-driven and semantic-driven data.
Love that.
Meaning, what that means is, John Doe and Jay Doe are semantically same within our organization. They're going to be treated the same, right? In the same way, contextual graph is something that we are kind of considering building, where you have like claims related to specific policy coverage, specific to kind of, in terms of workers' compensation tied to the injured worker contact, right? So we're building all of these meaningful relationships, but it takes a lot of work and effort to build them, right? It requires business alignment. It requires enterprise architecture. It requires IT to get on board and think about the insurance model in the right way in the current world, right?
I love that.
So what I worry about is, how do we kind of build it? And the other worry is AI is changing dramatically.
Yeah, keeping up.
Keeping up with the pace of AI and Gen AI is something that I'm also very concerned about.
Yep.
But as long as we have like foundations in a good spot, I think we will be able to, do well with AI and the AI innovation in future.
I love that. Sid, I'm going to take that with me. This whole notion of what is my relationship with data?
Right.
That is, I love that. Yeah. And what are the relationships between the data? I love that as a great business context. Yeah. Sid, thank you so much for your time. This has been an amazing conversation.
Same here. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.